Well, hello. We're back.
I like the surround sound going.
You like that? Yeah, I'm over here. I'm on the left. I'm on the right.
Apple's new spatial
recognition
go.
ear thing.
Good job dealing with that.
Yeah. Did you guys see the Apple keynote a few days ago?
I did not, but I read all the details. I was a little disappointed. I was ready for some hardware, but they didn't really.
There's a lot of software in there though. That was pretty cool.
Software.
Mm-hmm. Yes, a lot of privacy stuff.
Yes,
the package recognition, front door stuff. Did you see that?
Yeah,
that was kind of.
I did not see that.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in there, but yeah, and then the new Tesla S Plaid just came out. Apparently, their first
0 to 60 in what, 2 seconds?
Under 2. The first production car. Crazy.
What does that feel like?
You've never taken a test drive?
No. I've driven in a Tesla.
I've never been.
I felt really like weird
nauseous.
when it sped up. But you're saying it's even faster.
I've been
than that.
in an S that had Ludacris.
Yeah.
And this is like probably
Not the rapper.
Ludacris on steroids.
Yeah.
And I mean, it throws you back in your seat. It feels, it's incredible. Even just the base model Teslas can, they have quite a bit of torque and acceleration. So
there used to be a Tesla salesman over here. I don't think he's there anymore for probably good reason, but I would go and get test drives every once in a while, and he would just kind of pull it out onto 65 and like stop and be like, and so
wait for no cars.
Yeah, he would tell you. He said we would pull on 65's. It was the on ramp. We'd pull onto the on ramp and we'd just stop. And then it's like he looks around and he's like, "All right, just pin it." And we do that over and over again, and it was pretty cool on ludicrous mode.
I wonder how long those tires last on the new Plaid. Probably like 5,000 miles.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But didn't you say that when he unveiled it, the first thing he talked about was it plays PS5?
Oh, I don't know if it's the first thing, but he kind of just like, it also plays PlayStation. Not 4, but 5. And you got a roar of a crowd.
Love Elon.
So anyways, awesome. let's get off about Elon. But,
we love Elon. We love our Apples. We love all things cool.
Yeah.
So speaking of transitions here, Brad, you had a interesting question. Continuing our agency fundamental series from last episode.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges of especially small businesses, especially where the founder may be a lead in the business and really drive the business. What happens when, we all go through struggles in life. We all have loss or death in the family. It might be somebody even like close to you where it really affects you in your time or your mental space. We all go through depressions, and we all go through these little valleys that can really, change the way that we work, or we're just not available, or we just need to check out for a period of time, maybe even longer than, a week, maybe 2, 3, 4, in some cases, half of a year sometimes if we're going through struggles. How do you overcome that or prepare for those things when you're starting a business, so that if those happen, you don't see your business tank, or you don't see a loss of business, or you're not able to properly attend to clients, especially when you're like the holder of the information or the main strategist or face to a client. And so I kind of want to unpack that a little bit more because it's in your lifetime. Sure. You're bound to go through that a few times in your life, and if you're running a business, let's talk about how to prepare for that and kind of protect yourself. One of the things that I've always heard, and it's I think it's true, is that you should always strive in your business to make sure that you could take 4 months off and your business would still strive and grow. But to do that, you've got to have the right people in place that can have your back. And so
that's a great litmus test.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, that should be something, it may not be the case right now for everyone's business, right, that's listening, but it's something to shoot for, or even our businesses, right? But it's one of those goals to shoot for, right? Because that means it's healthy. That means it's not dependent on one particular person.
Yeah.
Those things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, I would say, in my opinion, the easiest answer is make sure you have a partner, right? Ken,
I was
know
going
you
to say
have
a partner is a good
Yeah.
solution to that. I mean, it provides that balance in, in the valleys and the peaks and those kind of things.
Yeah.
That is one way to do it.
But you also have to have a partner who wouldn't resent you. Like, let's say, can it
Well,
happen
yeah.
to you that your a partner that wouldn't resent, that would have empathy and understand that life can be really challenging at times, and can.
It's a good point. I think that can be hard. And having a partner is good for a lot of things. One of which is that reason. But I think you're right. I think having a partner, nothing's equal, but like you really need to have a partner that tries to make sure that they're pulling the same way, or that you're pulling the same way as them, and they're pulling the same way as you. Because otherwise, if you're not, and it's consistent, then it does lead to resentment. And I think that when those kind of things happen, you can then, if you've got a trusted balance, then it's not that, never going to be a big deal to pull the weight of that person. And then I'd also think, obviously if you are in a down spot and you have a partner that's kind of like taking up the slack, I think it's in all our personalities to like get back as quickly as healthily possible, right? Because you can drag that on, you can kind of abuse your relationship with your partner, and then obviously I think that does lead to some bad places too. That resentment thing is hard. I mean, just to be honest with you, it's something you have to, in my experience with various partners, you have to be preemptive about, like very intentional and very preemptive about like making sure you don't end up doing things that cause resentment and vice versa.
One of the things that we have going on right now at 5x5 is there's 3 partners in that agency, 3 main partners, and they are going to start rotating sabbaticals, which I think is really healthy and a good practice. If you do have a partner, like you said, Brad, if you're in a situation where you do have a partner, or you have somebody that you trust, to do a practice on this, like take a month off and say, I'm going to take a month off. I'm not going to work. I might check in once a week, but the goal is for me to take a vacation, spend time with my family, recharge. And then, maybe if you feel comfortable letting your partner or your employee do that too, just so that, number one, it's good mental health for everyone involved, but number two, it prepares you for times like these.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, I want to set everything up so if this happens, we're ready. You make it part of your culture, and maybe once a year you do that with your whoever, if you're in that situation. So all of those things that we just talked about, Brad, doesn't answer your question directly. It's if you have a partner or if you can get one, right? So now let's talk about if you don't have a partner.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have a partner, I don't have a partner, but one of my sayings that I have is and I think about this all the time. It's actually a motto of mine, is every day I want to fire myself, meaning that every day I want to get to that point where I can leave for 4 months and my business continues just as planned. And I've been there, and I haven't, there's, as any business, it ebb and flows, right? You have to step in and really roll up your sleeves at sometimes, and then I can't. But there has been times where I've been able to step away a little bit more. But I always strive for that, and I think that is tough because it's funny. My employees hear that, and I joke around about it. Like my goal is to fire myself every day, but I have to kind of unpack that for them and let them know what that really means, and that I'm not trying to disengage from the company. I'm just trying to get to the point where I'm doing the things that I need to be doing, and I'm not doing the things I don't need to be doing for my vision for the company, and also my expertise. So with that being said, though, I like to talk a little bit about maybe some of the roles that, if you don't have a partner as well, or maybe if you do, some of the roles that are really important for you to have somebody that has your back. Like, for instance, I personally right now don't have a personal assistant like that can pick up the scraps right now for me. which is always challenging. What about you guys? Do you guys?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, even if so, like having a partner, potentially having a business partner is one way to solve some of these problems, right? But it's still, even if you have a business partner, like, you still want to solve it with staffing and processes and systems. And I know we'll probably talk scale on a different episode, but I think like some of the same things have to do with scaling your company, because again, it's about, I believe it's about breaking the business away from being directly associated with people. And that's not because you don't want it to be associated with people, because obviously you need human beings involved in it, and your business needs to be relational. But we need to allow people to be scalable.
Yeah, you know,
and that takes systems and processes and other types of things, like adjusting your products and even conditioning clients.
Yeah. There's an old adage, and we've all talked about this before, but that your processes run your business and your employees run your processes.
Right.
And I think that's what you're saying, is that the more you can rely on processes, it's easier for employees to run those than it is leading a company where you don't have processes. And now you've got to use so much more human resources.
Well, you know what we could do, right? Like, as I think about, okay, so a couple of years ago was the first time I was really able to like step away for a longer period of time. And that was like a big milestone in our business. And it felt really good, but I was sort of unpacking, what led up to that. And I think having a business partner is part of that. But I think that I started to think, I was in a mastermind that was intentionally, that had business owners that we were intentionally trying to get a business to a maturity where you could actually do that kind of thing, where you could actually go away for a month. And it was really good, by the way. Like, the sabbatical idea is valuable for you as a business owner or as a leader, or really any leader or employee in your company needs something. We talk about cycles all the time. Like, you need a break, in order to recharge so that you actually do a better job, right? For me, my inspiration gets depleted over time. And when I take a break and I don't do anything business or work related, my subconscious, because I'm thinking about it all the time, it's just like, it's recharging and it's thinking of new ideas and it's getting inspired. And it never fails. I've done this so many times over the years, but like, at the end of it, you are, like, for me anyway, I don't know if this is the case for everybody, but at the end of it, you're getting ideas, you're inspired, you're ready to go. Everyone has their own type of thing, but that recharge idea is important. So I know we're not talking about this, but I do think sustainability of your employees or your team in general is a factor in this. Like, you don't want to churn people out, right? So in trying to keep somebody from burning out, I do think having situations where you actually allow them to take a break, or even make them,
them is important.
We have a team. Yeah, our team is very reluctant to take a break because they have a high degree of responsibility for what they're doing, right? And so, and I appreciate that a ton. But I found that we actually have to say, okay, you need to think about, like, whatever, taking a Friday. If you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're feeling like you've just been like chugging, like, plan for it, but take a Friday, like, take next Friday off, or go away for a little while, and we're actually telling people to do that. So anyway, I do think that maybe relates to this, because I think team sustainability is part of it, and I do think those cycles.
Once you build it into, what you're saying is, once you build that into your culture, then it's not a big deal when someone has to take a long-term period off. Now, that still doesn't help you and answer your question, which is, what if you're a small team?
Yeah.
And you can't afford to do that.
There's no one else you can rely on at some level of help besides.
Wouldn't you guys say, though, that like it's a build up, right? So when you're especially, so if you're starting out, right, and you couldn't take any time off at that time, right? Like, I remember like really early on, I was when it was just me, like I was sort of like right out of college, that kind of thing. I was like, if I get sick or I go on vacation, like income stops. As an entrepreneur, like that's kind of the case, right? It's just like, as you're working, as you're building something, there's that period of time that there is that risk period. But over time, wouldn't you say that? I mean, the way I look at it is, okay, so what if you were to go, if I or anyone listening were to leave for a month and not be available, maybe it's any number of reasons. What are the responsibilities that rely on you that would not happen? And then how do you start to like punch those out?
Yeah.
Right. And then I think you come down to a set of things, hopefully, and this is the process that I went through a little bit, but you go through a set of things, right? That, okay. So some of those things are process related, right? So you'll find out that, oh, well, when this happens and this happens, they have to ask me if I should send that email or not. So it's like, okay, well, let's create a process that, tells you how to make that decision. So you don't have to ask that question and you can make that decision on your own. There's like clarity. I think in my experience, like a lot of the things that keep people from being able to unplug or keep things from being able to be systemized or just lack of maybe some clarity that we haven't maybe taken the time to do yet.
So do you go throughout your week or so and if you're asked questions over and over again, repetitive throughout the, let's say a quarter, a year, you'll write them down and say, this is something we need to process. This is something that we need to, because if I'm the one you have to come to get the answer for, and I'm not here, who are you going to get the answer from, right? Let's solve that problem.
We've been, as a team, we try and do that. Well, for us, that's like a big part of our philosophy. Like it's just kind of like writing, kind of systemizing as much as we can. Not the stuff that, again, it's not about systemizing the stuff that you should be on. It's just about how do you, oops, just dropped my phone.
Ken just threw the phone at me.
I just threw the phone at me.
I gave him a bad look.
It's so annoying. Just kidding.
I know.
How do you take, I think agencies that I have had experience with, like there tends to be a lot of inefficiency in the in-between stuff. And so it's like, how do we deliver this product, whatever it may be, a marketing campaign, a website, a consulting thing? How do we deliver it and really put our human effort into the things that really matter and just rely on systems for those other things? But it turns out like that's just really, it's not easy, but it's just the hard work of deciding on what the system is. I try to. We do a lot of Loom videos. We do a lot of those kind of things.
Yeah, systematizing and document and using the right tools for that is important. But I think too, one of maybe the big question you should ask yourself is, what are the roles that you fill that no one else can do? Because for some, like me, when I was when I ran and owned my own agency, I was the main salesperson, right? I wasn't the client manager or the execution, but as far as bringing in the business. But for another agency owner, it maybe I hold the marketing knowledge of how to do what we do, or I'm the process guy, or I'm the face to the client. And so I guess you really need to ask yourself, what is it that you do that's going to be missing, and that you're afraid is going to go down, like the ship's going to go down if I leave, and then really hone in on that, because I think it's different.
It's a big one.
It's different for every owner, right?
Yeah.
It's like for you, if you were to leave, they would feel it in a different way, say, than you were to leave, right?
Yes,
So,
but I think you hit on sales, right? Like,
Right.
especially in a lot of small agencies and even starting out, like sales is typically the founder's job. And even when you mature, that can tend to be the case. So, if you go away, the sales stop, and that's obviously a big business problem. And sales is one of those core business systems that you need. So, there's just thinking about, okay, so how do you break that sales down into things that are repeatable? And it does take time, right? Like because sales is one of those things where like you have to build a pipeline, you have to do all these different things. So how do you? I mean, there's automations, there's all these different things. There's how do you create campaigns? How do you get other people involved? And so that like maybe where sales was used to be you calling all of your contacts, right, to see if there's another project available. Maybe it goes from that to you've got the marketing campaigns ready that are bringing in the right leads, and now you're still involved, but you're talking to the prospects, and maybe you're closing them, and then you have to work on how do you scale that part of it. But like at least you start to punch out certain chunks of this thing. And I realize that like for starting agencies, especially, like it's like they've got a million things to do, and that's that's part of building a business, right? Is building a business is building systems that
right.
are repeatable. And I don't know. I think it's just a process of going through.
Yeah. I'm wondering too. I'm not wondering. I know we can talk about this for the next 3 hours, but at the end of the day, I'm just wondering if the main solution to this is just hiring really good people.
Oh, for sure. Right. So you talked about systems, and now you got to talk about people. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you trust the people that work with you and for you and around you, that you can take that kind of time off and that things are going to continue, it's all about having that skill set, right? And I know that there's a lot of questions around that, but I think at the end of the day, personally, I think that's the answer is you've got to hire well and make sure that the people around you have the skills and an equal desire to have that passion around the business going,
I think, again, I don't always put this in place. And I wish I did more, but I think there's two things that when I'm hiring, I want to try to find. I don't know if this is good or bad, but first thing I think is good is always hire someone more qualified than you. Right? Never hire to the point where you're going to have to train somebody up, or you feel like, this person can probably do it. I'll have to train them up. Not for everything, but for the more important things, you want to hire somebody who already has an innate knowledge and greater than you do in a certain area that you're hiring them for. And you need to qualify that too. If you can't qualify, then you need to bring someone in during the hiring process that can actually vet that. The second thing is, and I don't know if this is good or bad, maybe you guys can challenge me on this, but when I think about hiring somebody who is going to take over really important roles, I want somebody who has a vision, the same vision I have. And I want somebody who already gets what I'm saying to the point where our communication is like not ESP, but the point where they're completing my sentences at some level. Because for me, I feel more trusted when I feel like somebody just gets it. Like their intuition just gets it. Like you don't have to sit there and explain something and bring somebody up and pull them up and go, oh, okay, I see it now. I didn't see it before. That could also be a problem with me communicating badly, but I want somebody that I feel like I can just pass a ball back and forth and they get it. They can just take it and run with it. I don't know if that's something that you can hire, or is that something that you train up, too at the same time, or but you know how it is when you're working, like maybe your partner you guys like complete each other's sentences now. Like you guys know each other so well, you've worked together so much that you're a good team because of that. But when I hire someone that I want to put in that role, that's what I'm looking for. And I think it's because my own frustration. I get frustrated when people are not like on the same
Would you say that
plane.
When I hire people, like one of the main factors is their character, and it sounds like that that is the kind of clay that you can use to mold into being like you have to have someone that has a good character and that believes in what you're doing.
But I also know that though you should always, good character I think is number one in any employee, right? But I think there's only a level of you could take somebody that has good character and mold them.
Right.
I don't think
with
that's
their aptitude.
I don't think that's you can ever. Sometimes you can't train things. It's just a personality.
Yeah, right.
And not that that's good or bad, but it's maybe not the right fit for the right role for you. And I think that's where I really struggle is if I don't if I can't communicate without words, like with somebody, and they're just like on, tracking with me all the time, I get really frustrated. And I think that might just be a personal problem that I need to get over, but maybe not. Like I've done that throughout my career, and I'm more apt to gel with somebody. I can they just get it, and then I can move fast, and I can actually feel like I can trust somebody more because it's like a duplicate of me at some level. And I don't know if that's good or bad though.
Well, I mean, you have to. I mean, the truth is, you probably need someone, or in those scenarios, right? You'd need someone that really can be, I guess, mentored by you, right? And so, like your job is like, so they need to have the raw materials, right? Character, aptitude, skills, those kind of things. But as the founder, maybe we could talk about vision a little bit, because I do think that has to do with this, right? Like you cast that vision, and one of the challenges that I found is when you get depleted, you still need to be at 100% with like communicating that vision, because that's the thing that someone's like, okay, I get it, and I believe in it, and yes, now we can run down that path.
So if you leave for 4 months and go on vacation, you should just always send a little bit of your vision and emails to your staff.
Yeah.
To lead them.
That's probably not a bad idea.
Keep them moving.
Yeah. No, but I think that's important. And I think that for someone like that, right, someone that comes into your company, they don't know why you do what you do, and what makes you different from every other company. What you don't want is, I believe, what I don't want is someone who just wants a job.
Right.
They could have character and skills, but if this is just no different than every other company, like you should be. Hopefully, there's something uniquely attractive about your company, any one company. When someone comes, that they're like, I get that, I believe in it, and that's why I'm attracted to this thing. But it's hard because the founder, the kind of the leader or the leadership needs to like create that compelling thing, and that takes energy.
Yeah, it does take energy, and I think too is setting an expectation of and transparency with the rest of your team. I know if you're a solopreneur or if you're a single owner like you, Brad, it's real easy not to want to share, or it's a need to know basis, the details of the finances, the what you're forecasting, what you need. But I think the more that you can be transparent with your team, the more that there's a bigger vision of what's expected. So, for instance, if Brad's out for the next 2 months, 3 months, we still have to meet our goals. We still have to do this. We still have to, or else I may not have a job. And I think sometimes as business owners, we want to keep that to ourselves. Like, well, I don't want to, that's private, or they don't need to know, or whatever. I think the more that you can have a culture of openness, it also fosters a culture of ownership, right? If I know, where we're heading, is there a reward for those people to meet those goals? And if there is, I'm motivated whether Brad's here or not, versus the owner looking over my shoulder. Yeah. So, I think all those are things that I think sometimes when we don't have partners, or we're solopreneurs, or whatever it may be, we have a tendency to keep all those things internally, the things that keep us up at night, the things that we worry about that our staff they don't need to, or they can't because they don't own it. I think the more that we can foster an attitude, what I've learned hard way.
Yeah. It is, you mentioned a couple of things, and there's so much in what you just said though, but there, the truth is like when you're, I guess, in that leadership, ownership kind of role, it is a bit alone. It is a bit lonely up there, right? Because I said up there. It's not really up there. It's like down there, but it's lonely not because
down in the basement.
Yeah. But not even if you do have a good culture of like sharing some of that, which I do think sharing some of that is at least in my experience a good idea. It can be scary, but then there are things that it's like if it would seem like if everyone else knows everything that's going on, then that's not a good thing either, right? Mm-hmm. So you're dealing with a lot of different
personalities
thoughts and even just like people management is hard. You know, I'll have a day where I'll have, you know, we do one-on-ones with our team, weekly, bi-weekly, and you know, so I'll have days where I'll like just have one-on-ones almost all day long, and a lot of times it's like super excited, and then also a lot of times it's like everyone's got a unique other different problem, and sometimes like, who's gonna do one-on-one with me? Who's gonna listen to my problems?
We'll do one-on-one with you, Ken.
That's what this podcast is.
Exactly.
And that's not a selfish thing, because my team would be like, I would happily do that. They would never want to put me through that. But my point is like, there are things that only you can do, and one of those is people management, and that can be a difficult thing, because in people management you have to be the listener to a lot of different things, and almost and people are bringing you a lot of problems.
It can be
too.
lonely at the top, because honestly, I mean, I think that's probably why you do like you do mentorship programs, like where you are part of masterminds, because now that is that's your above you, or you can get information like you can't, you know.
Well, you need there needs, I don't know, I guess God is at the top of all that stuff, but like I've always heard it said, like everyone needs that same type of thing in their life with someone else, right? In order to give it, you kind of have to get it somewhere.
Yeah.
That's good.
But that is part of the reason. Yeah.
I had a question. You know, a lot of businesses start with partnerships, and that's when the partnership is formed, typically from the beginning. But where do you think an agency, if you're an agency owner and you're a sole owner and you're getting to the point where you're, and I just so you know, I've thought about this many times because I'm a sole owner. You go through seasons, but to the point where you're like, man, I am burnt out. I don't know if I can continue without some other partner to come on board. Do I want to partner with another smaller agency? Do I want to bring on a partnership that actually is an owner of the company so that there's more stake in the game and I can, you know, when do you think, as a single business owner, or maybe even partnerships where you want to grow your partnerships, you have one partner and you want to bring on a couple more partners or whatever, what is the timing for that? When do you think is the right time, or what are the things that would make you think about bringing on a partnership or another agency, combining two agencies, not just from a monetary standpoint or from financial, or they're able to bring business, but just from the standpoint of, I need help. This is becoming very tiring for us to do this alone.
I would say, I mean, I'm not an expert here, but you looked at me.
Well, because I think you're more apt.
Yeah, you're
the one that would
got a business partner.
Well, you're able to make those decisions.
Well, one point I was going to make is, like, at least in my experience, those same feelings still pop up, at least for me, where it's sometimes like, I'm tired, I don't even know if I want to do this. Like those feelings, you go through seasons, and that happens to everybody, right? I'm sure no one really talks about it, but that happens, and that still happens, even with partners, I believe.
We got to be transparent on this podcast, so it's Agency Exposed. So
I'm telling you.
I mean, I go through that period. I feel like at least once a quarter.
No one listening should be scared. Like my team listening, like, or if they are, if you are, share this and like it. But no one should be scared. It's just the truth about everything.
When you do something long term too, it just, we've been doing something for 10, 15, 20 years. You start to kind of get bored a little bit with things, because there's a lot of repetitiveness in our business. And so it's like, and I think that's part of understanding what excites you as a person, because I have two lives. I have a life that is excited about things, and sometimes my business used to provide that for me, that kind of excitement, but at times now it doesn't as much. It's just because of time. And like, so I'm trying to look for the next thing, but I want to include the next thing into my business. I don't want to be a whole next thing that's separate from my business, per se. But we're, so that's kind of what I deal with a lot.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say, like, the way I look at those questions about partnership and even combining agents, like combining companies and those kind of things, has to do with what you're good at and what you're not so good at, like complementary skills, basically. Obviously, you have to jive personally. But I would say, like, if there are, if there are things that are that are depleting your energy, then they're likely not. You might be good at them, but they're not things that give you energy, right? Like, so if you take some of these personality tests, it kind of helps you decide on like the things that you get energy from and the things that take energy from you. It doesn't mean you're good or bad at them. It just means that some you like and some you kind of don't like. And so I think that looking for complementary skills that cover that is a big one. And I would say even from the standpoint of, I mean, we've had people approach us about, acquisition and merging and those kind of things. And it seems in the agency space, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but there seems to be a lot of this kind of, that kind of thing going on, like more than collaboration. Like, hey, why don't we just like take 5 companies, put them together? And I think what's driving that is, in the agency world, like there are a lot of pros and cons between sizes and different markets that you serve in some of these things. And I think that the point that a lot of people are trying to solve is that complementary skill, because I think that you get, again, in agencies, like in other businesses, you're delivering a widget and it's like all the time, right? But in a service business, it's different all the time. And I think that tends to beg the need for more skill sets, like various ones,
right?
And so I think there's in a service business, maybe there's a bit more of a need, in my opinion, for for bringing someone in that has complementary skills. Like you don't want to learn those skills, or maybe they're just depleting your energy. Maybe that's the time to think about a partner or merging or something like that.
Yeah, we've been doing something recently. It's not a merger by any means. It's just a partnership. Is that we've been actually going, collaborating with other agencies, and some that are bigger than ours, and going after larger accounts. And it's, for me personally, that's been really fun and more of excitement for me. So, I think, for me personally right now, and I've been approached for acquisition. Again, we're a small business, so that's an acquisition at our size is, they're looking for a specific niche.
We should talk about that in a different episode or something.
And but I think even this partnership can offer a breath of new air to your agency. When you collaborate with other agencies. And I think that's one of the things that we talked about early on in this podcast, is that agencies try to be so quiet and private, and they're almost so competitive against each other. What if we lived in a world where every agency competitor was our best friends and we could collaborate? There's enough work to go around, right? So, and we could actually do better work and be a better,
join the agency exposed community.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I agree with you, right? Because how many times have you got a certain staff makeup, and then all of a sudden you're overloaded on one role. Like you can't get enough, whatever. You need an extra design helper. You don't have project management or whatever it is. And so, or you've got an overhead of a person, and they're not busy all the time. And so what if you could balance that out by collaborating with other agencies? We've done a lot of collaborations, and it's been, I would say, really successful. We've got probably somewhere between like 7 to 15 like really close partnerships with. Some of them are platforms, like technology platforms, and some of them are more agency like, and some of them are agencies, bigger, smaller. And it's great because if now you kind of work as a group, and when projects come in anywhere that has a need that's a specialty of one of that group, it's easy enough to share it. There's a really good camaraderie and relationship, and I found that really beneficial. I wish that happened more, but I think collaboration seems so smart. And then when you're talking about, okay, how do you step away? If you have some collaboration, you can't delegate the leadership of your company, right? But like, if if your team knows how to solve problems with experts and specialists and bring other people in as needed, or there are standing relationships, then that also becomes easier.
That's good. I think building relationships, that's a great point. I think it pertains to what we're talking about, Brad, in that if you have strong relationships and partnerships where you are collaborating, it's much easier. And this could even be, other agencies that you work with, and maybe a bay of contractors that are integrated into your culture. When you do remove yourself, there's easier ways to plug other people in and other things to plug people in. And I haven't even thought about that. But imagine you had strong partnerships with 4 other agencies, 3 other agencies, 2 other agencies, whatever it is, and you guys worked, you built a relationship to where you were working well together. And then all of a sudden you said, hey, I need to take a month off for blah, 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 or 2 months off or 3 months off. Can you help me integrate and kind of take up some of the slack? That would be cool to have that type of partnership that could actually work for you. And that's something that would be interesting to explore.
Yeah, I agree. Even
and
if
vice versa, you can do that for them.
Totally. And even if it's just from the standpoint, I've done that with other businesses. I've got a little mastermind of business owners, and then who I'm close friends with. And there's one where they had to take off, the CEO of a company, and they asked me to help lead. And it was not for a long period of time, but just the fact that could be asked is a really interesting thing, because so it doesn't even have to be, I guess my point is it doesn't have to be necessarily like legal relationships. It could just be healthy relationships with other leaders and people in your space that, maybe it would be an emergency, but if there was an emergency, like you had at least have someone you can ask to step in. I think that's an interesting thing.
Because I think what's missing many times, we think it's the clients that are going to miss us, but actually it's your team that's going to miss you, and they're going to feel lost, i.e., okay, who am I going to go ask? Or what would Brad do in this situation? Or, those are the things. And I think having a partner, friend, associate that could step in, even if they're from another agency,
help give leadership to
be,
the team. Yeah.
I'm going to be the leader to your team. If they need anything, they can come to me. And I can keep an eye on and make sure that they're on track where they need to go. I think that's an interesting proposition.
Well, guys, this has been a good conversation for sure.
I don't know if we answered any of your questions,
Yeah,
but
you did.
at least we explored
I
some
think
things.
I think everybody has to search deeply, and I think we've raised a lot of questions, but I think we've given some. I mean, for me, it's making me think a lot more about some specific things of how to protect my agency, so that if I do get to the point where I would have to leave for months, that there is a plan of what's going to happen.
But you should get to the point, and I'm not saying you, I'm saying the collective you needs to get to the point where you can do that without it having to do it.
Yeah.
That's right. So like where you can take a little bit of time off, because that will make you so much more effective. So it shouldn't be just like an emergency situation. It's like, I think the prize at the end of trying to get to this point is that you can actually step back when you need to and recharge and not worry about everything burning.
And I love the idea that even as a single business owner, you should try to put in sabbaticals into your culture.
Yeah.
And build your business to know that you need a sabbatical, because everyone needs a downtime. You can't work 24 hours a day for 15 years and not have it affect you. You really need to build that in just for some mental health and some in your family too. So I think that's what I think I need to focus more on, is how can I make my business stronger so that I can prepare for that, and not just as an emergency, but as a regular thing.
That's good, guys.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we have more to talk about next time for sure.
All right, guys, you guys have a great day. Follow us on social media.
Yes, review us, please.
You can watch our videos in our little loft studio on YouTube. We need more YouTube.
Smash 'em up.
We need more YouTube views, and definitely smash up the likes and take control of the YouTube algorithm.
There you go. Great.
Talk to you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.